Hey gang, Joyce with Skipping Calves Farms. Well, looks like we're mostly done with the chore with the cherry tree and the mulberry tree. Here's another mulberry tree that was just maybe 3 or 4 feet tall when I first spotted it, and I had cleared all this brush. This brush stops a little bit behind that tree. It was originally about 40 feet thick. You couldn't even hardly see that black oak. It went almost all the way out to the edge of these sour oranges when I first got here. I first did the clearing basically with an electric hedge trimmer and lopping shears. It took me months, basically took me a year, to clear all of this back to about where it is now. Now, I didn't clear the trees. You can see a lot of the stumps and stuff here. Now, there were trees still in this section that I had to take out when I decided when and where I was going to put the perimeter fence. If you notice, you got a black oak as a corner structure down there at that end. And as I pan back across, hidden behind that black oak is a white oak. You can see the panels on the back of it, and that's the corner structure for that corner. And you can't really see it from here, but there's pieces of garden hose across the fence that are touching that black oak to keep it from shorting out. Not really the first class way of doing it, but it was the shoestring way of doing it, and so far it's worked out pretty well. That tree did not touch that the top 2 wires at all, and it's now touching the second wire, and I had to go in and aftermarket engineer an insulator on it. Basically, I just took the garden hose, cut it on a spiral, and then wrapped the whole thing up real good in tape and put the spiral to the outside, and it's worked fine ever since. So if I have to modify it eventually, I'll have to modify it eventually. But if I just, if I don't do anything but have to go out there and monitor it, I test my fencing on a regular basis, so that's not a problem. If there is a problem, I'll know about it. And that second wire from the top, which is the 4th wire from the bottom, is ground anyway. So so you do the best you can with what you got. And I see a lot of new people on YouTube going out and doing homesteading, and they're spending an awful lot of money on an awful lot of things that they really don't need. And from being online for a while and going to a number of schools and talking to a number of folks like Greg Brandt and Greg Judy and Ian Mitchell Ennis and oh gosh, the names escape me. I've not seen Dr. Williams in person, but I've watched a lot of his work. And Jim Garish. Basically, all of them will say, if you've never homesteaded before, start small, small, small. And do as much as you can with as little as you can. Because if you do anything other than that, chances are that property will be back up for sale in the next 4 or 5 years, because it really is about a 5-year learning curve. I've been on this property now for almost 13 years. Then I'm still learning a lot every day. But that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to share what I've learned and to share what I do and try to show you the unfettered truth. The unfettered truth is you work from dawn to dusk and then some, 6 days a week. And animals come first, and you got to do what you got to do. There are some things that are worth spending money on, and there are some things that are not. One thing for me, because I have a small place, my primary fencing is my temporary fencing. So I've got top of the line poly braid, with Power Flex Super Mixed Metal, and top of the line step-ins with the O'Briens. You'll notice I've gone mostly with the black, or with the blue and the yellow. They hold up better in the ultraviolet light than the white does. It's a function of the physics of light and color. And try to learn as much as I can. I try to think before I do, and do as much as I can. I mean, I'm in my upper 60s, guys. Gang, I'm retired, and I'm out here on an old ladder that I've had for 20 years, and trying to help bring some life and stability to this little mulberry bush, because pretty soon here it's going to start giving me fruit, and it'll give me fruit for as long as I live, and I won't have to do very much to get that. But it has gone from being about, this tall to being this tall, right? So it's what, 20 feet, and it was 4 feet when I first identified it, when I cleared things back. So if I didn't do this now or sometime real soon, that would have really negatively impacted this mulberry. It just really, the last year it really didn't grow very much. And so I also kind of trimmed back a little bit of the privet and some other stuff. Why? Because I didn't like the idea of where it was growing. I had the chainsaw and the stuff out here, so just went ahead and cut it. The one other thing I wanted to show you, gang, was when I first tied off that mulberry, I really didn't get it pulled back very far, and I wasn't real happy with it. So I modified that, and I didn't show it to you specifically. But this is an old, it's an old mooring line. So it's got a manufactured or a spliced loop in on one end. So you can just stick the long end through the loop, and now you've got an easy lasso that you could wrap around. And that's why I bunched what I bunched. I didn't bother with this because this is coming down on this side, so I knew it wasn't going to go anywhere. I piled my brush up over here, so bear with me here as I get over here real gentle. It's kind of hard to walk in all of these clothes and the safety gear. And these boots are awesome. These are some dry shod boots. I'd recommend them to anybody. They're so much better than muck boots. But I had the good fortune of, there's a place about 45-minute drive that puts them on sale every year from Black Friday to Christmas. So I got some. These are my boots from last year, and I got another pair of boots. And I got some more boots this year, and that should hold me up for a good little while. I sure hope things don't happen like some of the people are talking about, inflation going crazy. We're right here at 2026, and with the way everything is going and the way people are spending money, private and public, inflation's got to happen. And so I'm trying to get as much infrastructure and things as I can while I can. But here is how I lashed it off. Let me explain. This is actually a knot in the long line and a loop. This is the same long line coming through here. I did a figure 8 and made a little loop out of it. Then here's the long line still coming through, looped it around twice, and then tied it off. I tied it off with a half hitch and then a second half hitch pulling through on itself So you could basically just untie it with one hand like that. So it's just a second half hitch that you pull through in a loop like that. And then you can undo it with one hand, and you'll be able to see the knots better as I untie it. So it's looped around twice, so it's kind of like a block and tackle out of rope, because you got two lines, right? And so it lets off easier. That way you're not likely to lose control of it. And now you can see what I was talking about. I had a loop in the long line, came around to the tree, came back through the loop, and then pulled it down snug so I had enough on my tail to do the second loop and then tie it off. And the reason I use the figure 8 knots, if you didn't see what I talked about in my walnut processing, let me put you on hold for a moment. Let me get this line out of the tree and I'll show you what I mean.